Alright, we got game 4 here between HuT and SortOf in the Red Bull Wololo Legacy Road to Wololo August Finals. So it's a bit of a mouthful to say. So HuT here as the Abbasid in the blue trunks, up against SortOf in the red on Rus. So we're here, game number 4, HuT up 2-1 in this best of 5. He wins this one, he takes it through the next series. If he drops this, well, SortOf locks up the series 2-2. So our players 2 scouts apiece, pretty standard. Thank you for the follow. And SortOf, what's he doing? Oh, he's forgotten to actually unrally from his initial second scout there. So a bit of walk time wasted there for SortOf. A bit of a panic. I suppose it's a bit nerve-wracking when everything's on the line in the match point. So these players trying to book themselves a ticket at the grandest stage of them all. WrestleMania. Nah, just kidding. The Wololo Legacy Tournament at Heidelberg Castle. Sort of only up to 85 bounty gold at the moment. Doesn't seem to have... Actually, oh sorry, being Rus was going to get 3 scouts, sorry, I'd forgotten about that. But it doesn't seem like he's only got the 1 wolf in tow, so it's not like he's got a huge amount of bounty gold in the wings here at the moment. He's going to get another 50 out of this though. It'll pull him up to about 165. So HuT's done a good job at clearing out his hunts. And trying to get a hold of a lot of the sheep and wolves, and try and minimize the amount of gold the Rus player is able to snatch up around the map. SortOf gonna find another sheep as well, which is just as well because HuT was waiting in the wings for it. He will find another wolf. It's nice for HuT to pinch that off his opponent. 190 gold for SortOf. It's not great, not the worst, because he's only... There we go, he's got the 200 gold he needs to age up. Just as he's getting the food. So, Eco Wing being added here for HuT. Pretty solid at Abbasid, really at Boom Abbasid as well, and I think he's also really quite comfortable at Rus, so this should be a nice matchup for him. While SortOf, I haven't actually really covered a lot of his games and don't actually know him personally at all, so as a sort of, you know, I'm acquainted with HuT, both being AoE4 Aussie players. Not like we're best mates or anything, but he's a cool guy. He's a pretty solid player. He's definitely our most solid over here at the moment. So so HuT going for a second TC. He's going to get the stone for it, and he'll be looking to get fresh foodstuffs, halving the cost of his villagers, and SortOf possibly going to try and harass these stone gatherers, but he's actually deciding against it. He might just work away at the mining camp. He's SortOf going for the early stables. Looking going for night production, considering the number of vills he has on the gold there. While HuT aged up, getting fresh foodstuffs for the minute. A lot of villagers on the stone. He wants that over everything else at the moment. Looks like SortOf might be tempted to go for this boar, because if he does, yeah, he's brought 7 vills up. It's a nice boon to his gathering. He's at 250 bounty gold, which is nice. If he can get another 75 out of killing the boar, well, you know, that's more than half a night in terms of the gold cost, with the way he's looking at it. So HuT, he has the stone he needs for second town center. He's going to throw it down around the deer, sorry. And HuT trying to focus down this villager. He's going to be able to get her. And he does save the scout as well. So SortOf drops the villager, trying to take the boar, but not to the boar, but to HuT's scout. So really nice of him to intervene. Or SortOf. Second town center on the way. He's able to afford Golden Gate, flicking gold into the stone. And on top of that, he's actually able to still field an early night here. So now HuT, you're going to have to try and get some spears out. Second town center, slightly faster than SortOf's, and SortOf did drop that initial villager, but the eco differences are still going to be pretty inconsequential, I think, at this point. But HuT now trying to keep his scouts alive. Lucky to save this one as well. SortOf just patrolling in front of his opponent's base and try and find himself an opportunity, but HuT just walling himself in for the moment. This is really going to delay SortOf's attempt to get in, because I think HuT should be able to finish this up just in time, even if he doesn't micro it. Yeah, he will. So SortOf not quite able to make it through just yet. Well, HuT's spear production starting up. He's going to add stables, 2 stables behind this as well. This SortOf is likely to look at going for a range as follow-up to the stables. Second TC a little bit greedier than his opponents, perhaps. SortOf now going to add double ranges off to the front of his base, but HuT's planned ahead perfectly with double stables. Compositionally, it'll be a tough sell for SortOf to use the archers against so many horsemen. And his own knights and horsemen aren't going to fare so well against all the spears. So I think it'll be a tough fight for SortOf compositionally, even though he's going to be up in terms of production for sills. And he is going to get this other boar, so that's another 75 gold in the bank for him. It's in a nice spot. He can put a cabin down here, get the benefit of gold trickle, and another set of food after the boar with the berries. Like I said, compositionally, HuT, really, if you can mass up a couple of units, just prevent the knights from harassing in the next moment or two, he should really be able to take a solid fight against his Rus opponent after that. With predominantly horsemen against predominantly archers. We've got 4 rangers here for SortOf. Unbelievable. Really committing to that archer rush behind this second town center. Well, we're going to have a mix of horsemen, spears here for HuT, but mostly horsemen. SortOf hasn't really kept producing horses by any means through this. Insane, the archer production here. For SortOf, he really wants to thin out that spear count. I mean, all the power to him, but is he going to have enough to deal with the horsemen? You know, you're never going to have enough archers to cost effectively deal with 2 or 3 stables of horsemen here, I don't think. So, wheelbarrow on the way for HuT. SortOf is taking armory upgrades now. He's got steeled arrow, and he's going to add siege engineering behind this. But HuT is upgrade his towers. He's got double arrow slitted towers. He's walling everything in, so it's going to become super difficult to push into this. So many archers in the mix. While the spear count is under a lot of pressure, there's a lot of horsemen there. The HuT, he's now up for 3 stables. Horseman production, and we've got 4 range production here. Now barracks is added for SortOf, but he's going to need to add them quickly. While HuT, if he pushes now, this might be the perfect time for him, because there's nothing to really prevent this backline from being overwhelmed. So SortOf denied the opportunity to push early with the Rams. Gonna have to go up to multiple barracks here. He spent so much in production facilities now. He's now on 8 production facilities, while HuT has only got the 3. So SortOf sort of overinvested. A sort of overinvestment for SortOf. While HuT just near continuous production of the horsemen, getting phalanx. He's gonna add steeled arrow, which is an interesting choice because he hasn't got any range just yet, but he can always transition into it, and he's got ranged armor. So a very useful tech, considering SortOf's army is sort of kind of basically just archers at this point. A couple of knights, and now a couple of spearmen being added too. So HuT getting steeled arrow for some reason. I'm curious now. Steeled arrow for SortOf, well that makes sense, he's got 1,000,001 archers at this point. It's a lot of horsemen for HuT, so everything of SortOf's is going to have to hunker down. He'll have 20 villages plus, not gathering for the moment. A couple of horsemen are going to start falling soon, but so will a couple of villages. So HuT now going to have to back off after bleeding a couple of vills, but he is going to take Castle Age now. He's going to get Culture Wing, so cheaper techs once he gets Preservation of Knowledge. SortOf streaming forward with everything he's got for the moment. He's adding one last ram, bring it up to 3, but HuT 4 upgraded outposts with the emplacement of arrow slits. Now going to add some more barracks of his own, so he can go for a lot of man-at-arms once this Castle Age kicks in. Be very handy against this composition, which is still mostly just bowmen. The horsemen have been brought back home. HuT's bringing villagers forward for some reason, trying to go for some sort of proxy. Forward towering. So spears garrisoned in the towers to maximize the range for this army. While HuT, there we go, he's actually upgraded the front towers. And here he's sneaking villagers in. He wants to try and pinch this food, I think. If he can do that, he can really restrict the Rus player. Both these hips quite food heavy and really force him to have to get the earlier farms behind all this. While this is going on, SortOf is going to be able to take out a couple of these towers, I think, here. It's not quite wide enough for a third ram to get on the tower, though. But HuT, in the meanwhile, has added a mangonel, being Abbasid. When he does take siege engineering, he can add all of that for free. I mean, add all of that, not just rams. So HuT's had to snake his way around because SortOf's actually walled it off. It's good for SortOf to try and wall all this off, actually, because it makes it hard for HuT to actually get on any of this side food. If you keep the pressure up, HuT's going to have to transition onto the faster farm eco. In fact, he already is now. It's really good for SortOf, slowing HuT down. And HuT having to try and safely gather these berries. It's a little bit unlucky that SortOf didn't see these villagers come past. Scout just checking out the wood line here, just seeing what SortOf's got. So HuT very active with his scouts, even when he's cut off here back at home. Just wants to make sure he knows what's going on out in the map, what his opponent's thinking. On top of that, he might eventually snipe a house if SortOf doesn't send a horseman or a knight or a spearman to come do something about this. So SortOf's walling in his side of the map, going to get control of 2 of the 3 sacred sites. It's not far off taking out that third. He can always put a keep down here and it'll be over for HuT in the late game. But HuT, does he have other ideas? So it's 83 and 56 for HuT. SortOf 68 and 67. So SortOf slightly bigger army, slightly smaller eco. Now the 3 scouts for SortOf being used to clean up HuT's scout. He's not quite going to be able to burn down the house, unfortunately for him. Unfortunately for SortOf. But it looks like HuT's managed to creep forward and get control of these 2 sets of berries that he would have wanted, while SortOf having to slow things down and get castle age now. So HuT looking at getting a couple of relics now, and he does have that House of Wisdom bonus of faster research as well. So all his castle age armory techs will be kicking in quite quickly here. And SortOf, it's a tough comp for him to engage into with this many man-at-arms, horsemen, and with a mangonel in tow. He's adding a lot of Raxes of his own because his castle age, his high trade house, not far off. So he knows he hasn't got good relic control, and this way he actually gets, you know, basically 2 relics worth of value out of it. On top of that, I mean, actually, sorry, take that back. He's already got all the relics under control -1. So, and meanwhile, SortOf trying to wall up in this corner. Hasn't quite gone to plan. Didn't realize that HuT was already on this, but it's all choked off properly anyway. It's a bit of a waste for him to wall this off. It's not like HuT's going to cut through here. In the meanwhile, the high trade house is finished up, but HuT streaming forward with everything he's got. Hasn't really got anything invested into rams, but it might work in his favour because he's got that much more out in the field that SortOf doesn't want to take a fight anyway with the mangonels in the mix. And his own rams, big 900 resource investment he could have had into knights or getting that castle age a little bit faster at this point. So he's sort of not wanting to take a fight until he can get some man-at-arms out. All these rangers are going to be useless to him, but man-at-arms being trained out of these barracks are going to get picked off. He really needs to cancel them, take them out of the army control hotkey, and just use these ones for the moment, because HuT has really overwhelmed him here and he's going to be able to pick off all these stragglers. I was going to say, the beauty of the HuT trade house is if you're going to get all the relics and it doesn't really matter, or you're not going to get any relics, it gives you that nice 1.5 to 2 relics worth of value. This will be a nice fight for HuT here, SortOf, with mostly bowmen being picked off. I love these mangonels, some nice micro there. He's only going to lose the one, but he's run out of a front line now. He just had not enough to deal with the heavy armor of HuT there in the end, and GG, HuT takes the game and the series 3-1.